from 1776 to 1913, $1 was equal to $1. Now, there was a little bit of fluctuation around the two wars, but a dollar is worth a dollar. Since 1913, a dollar is now worth 3 cents.
Mark Yusko revealed the elite's involvement in the plot in an interview with CBTV. Yusko gave us a synopsis of how the Federal Reserve came to be in 1913 and how J.P. Morgan and John D. Rockefeller were involved. According to Yusko, the Federal Reserve's sinister Aldrich Plan gave private interests the ability to print money. What we have now is a long tradition of bankers living in constant fear of new monetary innovations like Bitcoin. J.P. Morgan's president and one of Bitcoin's most outspoken critics, Dimon, seems to seize any chance he gets to discredit the cryptocurrency in the media. Yusko has a double line of defense against Bitcoin naysayers in the banking and investment industries. A good indicator of an idea's merit is the caliber of its critics, and Bitcoin certainly has its fair share of naysayers.
Look, it was a sinister, and I use that term intentionally, a sinister plot by a very small group of people. Basically, J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, who was the son-in-law of Amory Aldrich, and Amory Aldrich was really the architect. In fact, there's another amazing book that no one's read. It was written in 1910 while the whole Aldrich Plan was being created. Because what happened is in 1907, there were a number of trust companies that were popping up in the United States that were competing to be new financial institutions. And J.P. Morgan didn't like that. His famous quote is, "I like a little competition." And this company, Knickerbocker Trust, was stealing all
I've
his
heard of
customers.
that. Yeah.
And so, as tough guys are prone to do, he spread some rumors, perhaps false, that Knickerbocker Trust was insolvent. And J.P. Morgan and his friend John D. Rockefeller said, we'll save you. $25 million, which back then was a lot of money. They pledged $25 million of their personal money to backstop the banks. Literally, like the scene in It's a Wonderful Life where Mr. Potter is bailing out the bank and the guy's dotting his brow. And they're like, no, you're not stealing our business. So from that point, from 1907 to 1913, they hatched this plan called the Aldrich Plan to create a central bank that ostensibly would stop these bank runs. No. What it did is it gave non-federal power to create money. And Thomas Jefferson said this very clearly in the 1790s. He said, look, if the American people ever allow banks to issue currency, they will wind up penniless and homeless on the shores of the country that their forefathers founded. Powerful stuff from 1790s. So here we are, we cede money creation to the Aldrich Plan, and this guy wrote this book, and I actually can't remember the name of it, but if you just Google, vampire octopus from 1910, it'll pop up. It looks like a kraken, and it's got its tentacles around companies and banks, and it's upchucking the money into central bank.
Seen that.
So if anyone's seen the movie the series Stranger Things, so in the movie or in this series, The Stranger Things, there's this thing called the Mind Flayer. If you put a picture of the Mind Flayer next to this picture, they look exactly the same. And if you look at a picture of Hawking's National Institute and the Eccles building of the Fed, they look like the same building. Now, they're not the same building, but it's just kind of funny. But stranger things have happened in the sense that Amory Aldrich, most powerful man in Congress, got this bill passed. And shockingly, J.P. Morgan has been at the pinnacle of banking and finance ever since. And now you got the president of J.P. Morgan pissing on Bitcoin. But here's my point. Like, guys, flip it around. You can judge the quality of an idea by the quality of its detractors. If no one cared about Bitcoin, it would be a bad idea. If ignorant people cared, it'd be a bad idea. One of the most powerful people in the world, he's got 10 minutes on TV from Davos. Jamie used his 10 minutes to talk about Bitcoin. So I flip that around and say, it must be pretty important. And it is important. And it's important because Bitcoin does to money and value what the internet did to media and commerce. And, you know, it's funny we're talking about this on Netflix Day, right? But when I was growing up, I was owned, and I don't mean that in a bad kind of way, but ABC owned me. I would be in a chair, 8 o'clock on Tuesday night with my TV tray, watching Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. They had my eyeballs, they had my attention, they had the advertising revenues because I was watching their shows. They owned all the content, they made the content. So how did their market cap go like this? And Netflix's market cap went like this. How did that happen? Because they didn't want to give up the good to go for the great. So they got disrupted by a subscription model, by a streaming model that said, we don't have to create the content right away. We just have to give people choice to watch when they want to watch what they want to watch. Then we'll create the content and we'll lock the people in and we'll get all your market cap. And that's exactly what happened. So same thing's going to happen to finance. The reason Jamie Dimon says it's a fraud, the reason Warren Buffett says it's like, you know, rat poison squared, the reason Charlie Munger one-upped him and said it's like trading newly harvested dead baby brains, because 46% of Berkshire Hathaway is financial services. And Wells Fargo days of charging egregious fees to steal money from clients, which they just got convicted of recently, because here's what the banks do. Look, FTX, bad guy, gal, and I don't think it was them. They're not the masterminds of anything. It's somebody way above them. But bad people did bad things. They stole money to funnel into political candidates, to curry favor and power. Great. It's a story as old as time. Bad people do bad things. But that was people's speculative money. It was their investment money. They were trading, they were speculating. And it's bad and it's horrible. And it is. And look, and I'm a victim of it myself. It's bad. But here's the thing. What Wells Fargo did and what these other banks do is way more heinous. The little stuff like this, like overdraft fee, they actually have software that caches the withdrawals before they process the deposit so they can steal overdraft fees. I mean, think about that. Instead of doing the opposite, which is to say, you know, you're our customer and we want you to thrive, we'll hold, because we're big and we have some, you know, we have some cushion in our profits. We'll hold those withdrawals for a couple days until your deposit comes in. They could do that and it wouldn't hurt them at all. But instead they steal.
Leave a comment with your ideas below, and we appreciate you tuning in to Market Empire. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.